1943 occupied France. In a filing room at Gestapo headquarters in Paris, a dossier circulates between departments. It contains no single accusation, only patterns: prisoners who vanish without records, transport schedules disrupted without clear cause, identity papers that pass inspection despite being newly issued. None of these incidents are decisive on their own. Together, they form a problem. German counterintelligence assigns the file a working name, Die Weiße Maus. The White Mouse. The designation does not describe an individual. It describes a recurring anomaly. A presence inferred from effects rather than sightings. At the end of the file, a figure is added, 5 million francs. The amount reflects uncertainty more than confidence. The objective is not punishment. It is interruption. Before the war, Nancy Wake worked as a journalist in Europe. She moved frequently, wrote for international papers, and operated comfortably within social circles that crossed national boundaries. This mobility later proved relevant. In the early 1930s, she was posted to Vienna. The city retained its cultural reputation, but political conditions were already shifting. In 1933, Wake witnessed members of the SA publicly abusing Jewish residents while local police declined to intervene. The event itself was not unique. What distinguished it was its visibility and lack of consequence. Years later, Wake identified this moment as the point at which she stopped believing that legality and morality were naturally aligned. By the late 1930s, she had relocated to Marseille. The city functioned as a commercial hub and transit point. There she met Henri Fiacca, an industrialist with shipping interests. They married in 1939. When France fell in 1940, Wake had the means to leave. She did not. The decision was not framed as resistance at the time. It was framed as remaining in place. After the armistice, Marseille became part of the unoccupied zone. In practice, it served as a bottleneck. Allied personnel, escaped prisoners, and political refugees converged there, attempting to reach Spain before German authority extended south. Wake and Fiacca used their social position to avoid immediate suspicion. Their residence hosted officials and officers. This visibility created a degree of insulation. Beneath it, Wake became involved in what later became known as the Pat O'Leary Line, coordinated by figures including Ian Garrow and Albert Garis. The network's function was not combat. It was movement. Wake handled financing, temporary shelter, documentation, and transport. Vehicles registered to Fiacca's company were repurposed. Papers were obtained through intermediaries. Bribes were paid where necessary. Over time, more than 200 individuals passed through the network. This activity did not appear as resistance in official terms. It appeared as administrative noise. That ambiguity delayed detection but did not prevent it. By 1943, the network was compromised. Harold Cole, operating within the escape line, provided information to German authorities. Arrests followed. Wake was identified as a priority target. Fiacca declined to flee. He believed his continued presence would reduce suspicion. Wake later accepted this reasoning without revisiting it. She left France alone. The attempt to cross the Pyrenees was prolonged and unsuccessful on multiple occasions. Wake was detained by Vichy police, interrogated, and beaten. She maintained a cover story and was eventually released through a combination of delay and external pressure. She reached Spain and was imprisoned again by Franco's authorities. British diplomatic intervention secured her release months later. In London, Wake was interviewed by British intelligence services. Her knowledge of occupied France was considered valuable. She was recruited into the Special Operations Executive. Wake was deployed back into France in April 1944, landing in the Auvergne region. Her assignment involved coordination with Maquis units, supply distribution, and preparation for post-D-Day disruption operations. She did not command forces in a formal sense. She facilitated communication, resolved disputes, and managed resources. When radio contact with London was lost, Wake traveled by bicycle across occupied territory to re-establish communication. Contemporary accounts differ on distance and duration. The essential fact is that contact was restored. German reprisals intensified in the region. Villages were destroyed. Civilians were executed. Wake participated in armed actions when necessary. She later described these moments without elaboration. After the liberation of Paris, Wake learned that Henri Fiacre had been arrested shortly after her departure. He was executed in Frasnes prison in 1943 after refusing to cooperate. This information arrived after the operational phase of her work had ended. Wake received multiple decorations after the war. Official citations described effectiveness, courage, and operational impact. They did not address cost. Her post-war statements were often interpreted as bravado. In context, they read as compression, a refusal to soften experience for public comfort. She rejected the language of heroism. She spoke instead about logistics, timing, and error. From an analytical perspective, Wake's significance lies not in individual acts of violence but in organizational effect. She did not alter the course of the war alone. She reduced friction within resistance systems at critical moments. The designation White Mouse remains instructive. It suggests not dominance, but evasion. Not force, but persistence. The question her story leaves unresolved is not whether her actions were justified, but whether systems that require such actions can avoid reproducing them.